SpaceX most epic fails. These aren't just crashes, they're lessons. Painful, explosive, and sometimes billion-dollar lessons. This is the story of SpaceX's most jaw-dropping disasters. What went wrong and the invaluable lessons they picked along the way. In 2006, SpaceX launched its first rocket, Falcon 1, from Omelek Island. Just 25 seconds into flight, a fuel leak near the first stage engine caused a fire, leading to engine shutdown for 29 seconds. The rocket crashed into the ocean, marking a somber beginning. The following year, SpaceX tried again, and a new but familiar disaster struck. When? On March 21, 2007, SpaceX made its second attempt. The Falcon 1 lifted off successfully, and the first stage performed as expected. The rocket reached an altitude of approximately 289 kilometers, marking a significant improvement over the first flight. However, during the second stage burn, the rocket experienced unexpected roll oscillations. These oscillations led to fuel sloshing, which in turn caused the second stage engine to shut down prematurely. But that was just a quiet implosion. The next one? It lit up the sky. The third attempt, on August 2, 2008, carried several payloads, including the Trailblazer satellite for the U.S. Department of Defense, NASA CubeSats, and the ashes of 208 individuals, among them astronaut Gordon Cooper and actor James Donnan. Approximately 2 minutes into the flight, the first stage shut down, and the second stage was supposed to ignite, but it didn't. The collision disrupted the second stage's trajectory, leading to another mission failure. Following that failure, Elon Musk acknowledged the challenges but remained resolute. He emphasized that the failures were due to design errors rather than manufacturing flaws, and expressed confidence in SpaceX's ability to overcome these setbacks. But by this time, SpaceX was nearly bankrupt. Elon himself admitted that they only had funding for one more attempt. Everything was ringing on Falcon 1 Flight 4. With only one rocket left and dwindling funds, SpaceX's future hinged on the fourth launch. On September 28, 2008, Falcon 1 successfully reached orbit, marking a pivotal moment in private spaceflight. But in 2012, SpaceX began testing an experimental vehicle called Grasshopper. It was designed to do what had never been done before: launch, hover, and land upright. The first tests were clumsy. Grasshoppers tilted, wobbled, and even sparked fires in the landing zone. Critics laughed, because rockets aren't supposed to land, they explode. Everyone thought Musk was crazy, but he kept pushing. Each test got a little smoother, until Grasshopper did the unthinkable. Launch, hover, land perfectly. Let's fast forward to rockets that were born to crash, the Falcon 9 and the explosion era. On June 28, 2015, a Falcon 9 rocket carrying supplies to the International Space Station lifted off. Everything looked perfect, until it all went south. 2 minutes into the flight, a faulty strut holding a helium tank snapped. The upper stage exploded, destroying a $110 million payload. NASA was watching. The world was watching. NASA's independent review team attributed the failure to a design error, noting that the strut was not adequately tested for flight conditions. But let's rewind to an explosion that put the whole company at risk. A pre-launch fueling error led to a spectacular explosion that destroyed Facebook's $200 million satellite. It was a public relations nightmare, and as expected, Zuckerberg was beyond furious. With 2 devastating explosions within a year, SpaceX's credibility was disturbed. This project was meant to be a collaborative project between Facebook and Eutelsat, intended to provide internet connectivity to underserved regions in sub-Saharan Africa. The Amos 6 satellite, valued at approximately $200 million, was central to Facebook's Internet.org initiative, aiming to bridge the digital divide with broadband internet in remote areas. The satellite was designed to operate in geostationary orbit, covering Europe, the Middle East, and significant portions of Africa. SpaceX launched an investigation into the anomaly, which Musk described as the most difficult and complex failure we have ever had in 14 years. The company collaborated with NASA, the FAA, and the U.S. Air Force to determine the cause. Eventually, the investigation concluded that the explosion was due to a rupture in the composite overwrapped pressure vessel, or COPVs-1, inside the rocket's second-stage liquid oxygen tank. What about the Starship chaos? If Falcon 9 was SpaceX's reliable workhorse, Starship was the wild stallion. Bigger, riskier, far more explosive. In 2020, SN1 crumpled like a soda can. SN3 collapsed during a pressure test. SN4 exploded on the pad. SN8, well, only made it into the air, then nosedived into the Earth. Each Starship test came with fireballs and lessons. Then came an even bigger disaster. Starship's explosive orbital flight that debuted in April 20th, 2023. After the triumphant SN15 landing, SpaceX set its sights on the real prize, orbital flight. On April 20th, 2023, Starship launched on its first full-stack orbital test from Boca Chica, Texas. Standing at nearly 400 feet tall, it was the largest and most powerful rocket ever built. But power doesn't always mean precision. Barely 3 minutes into flight, the Starship began to tumble. Multiple engines had failed during ascent, which made the rocket lose control. The automated flight termination system was triggered, and the world watched as the $3 billion rocket self-destructed mid-air. The cause? A mix of engine failures, insufficient thrust, and damage to ground infrastructure. Starship's 2024 launch shattered expectations, but not in the way Musk had hoped. The rocket didn't reach space. Debris rained down on protected wildlife areas, and the FAA opened an investigation. Yet the disaster had its silver lining. The test provided critical data. Musk tweeted that such failures were necessary steps toward building a reusable, interplanetary system. Starlink deployment anomaly, July 2024. In July 2024, a Falcon 9 rocket carrying 20 Starlink satellites experienced an upper stage engine malfunction shortly after liftoff from California. The malfunction left the satellite in a slow orbit, rendering it unable to reach its intended positions. SpaceX attributed the failure to a liquid oxygen leak and attempted to salvage the mission by using onboard ion thrusters to boost some satellites to higher orbits. All roads led to this, the biggest and loudest disturbances in space history. In May 2020, the Starship's SN4 prototype exploded during a static fire test at SpaceX Texas facility in Boca Chica. The explosion occurred approximately 1 minute after the Raptor engine test, a significant setback in the Starship development program. Despite the failure, the test provided valuable data that contributed to subsequent design improvements. 1 month after, in June 2020, SpaceX conducted a deliberate pressure test on the Starship SN7 prototype to determine the tank's limits. The test involved filling the tank with super-chilled liquid nitrogen until it ruptured. This controlled failure provided critical insights into the tank's structural integrity, informing future design enhancements. But what's the bigger picture? Why does Elon Musk and SpaceX keep going even with all the failures? Well, failure at SpaceX isn't the end. It's part of the process. Every explosion told them what not to do. Every fireball lit the way toward. From nearly going bankrupt in 2008 to launching astronauts into space in 2020, SpaceX appears to have defied every odd. But the road there was paved with wreckage that helped shape the future. And in a field where failure usually meant the end, SpaceX turned it into a stepping stones. So, SpaceX's story isn't just about rockets skating into the sky. It's about the ones that fell, burning, crumbling, exploding, reminding us that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the journey. Every engine glitch, every landing crash, every billion-dollar setback shaped the resilient company we see today. SpaceX has rewritten the rules of spaceflight. Their ambition? Mars. Their method? Relentless iteration. And while the road ahead is long and uncertain, one thing is clear. SpaceX is not afraid of failure, because in those failures lie the sparks of something greater: innovation, perseverance, and history. This isn't just rocket science. This is the human spirit, fueled, tired, and always reaching higher. So the next time you see a rocket explode, remember, it might just be step one of something extraordinary. If you like this deep dive into SpaceX's disasters, drop a like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments which of these crashes you knew about. Until next time.